I was cracking with y'all. It's your boy Prince the Hustle God, aka Wise the Warlock. And we reaching in our combat tool bag one more again. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, LDBC only, LDBC everywhere, LDBC or nothing. So this video is chronicling my experience on becoming a professional athlete. To be more specific, becoming a professional boxer. I won't have any footage of the fight. I might put it in there, but as of right now, I'm not deciding to do so. But yeah, to be more specific, becoming a boxer. So I got the opportunity after meeting my now manager, Kano Loco, and he was basically someone sent from heaven, if you will, who was able to revitalize a somewhat dying dream, if you will. So to be straightforward, I found boxing after I got out of a legal situation, and to put it shortly, I fell in love with boxing, and I started practicing very, very late. I started boxing at 27, or late 26, turning 27 in 2017, I believe. Long story short, I didn't get much of an amateur experience out of it due to my size. I was basically 112 on average. I could get my body up to 124, so I was able to get some exhibitions out of my weight class, but I was only able to scrape up 9 amateur fights, one of them being mixed martial arts, 2 of them being boxing exhibitions, and the rest amateur boxing. But not to drag on with that, I wanted to go pro fast and learn on the job. And wanting to learn on the job, there are a lot of risks that come with that, especially in the most dangerous sport, or just combat sports in general. That said, I still wanted to learn on the job, whatever risks may come, because time was not on my side and is not on my side, especially when my rivals would have been practicing or studying since they were children. So I have to use my natural gifts and natural combat instinct with learning on the job. But that said, I was able to get an offer for a fight in Florida, where my manager is local to, and it was an opportunity to transition from being an amateur to a professional. So in my mind, regardless of the pay, regardless of the opponent, regardless of whatever, I was going to accept this opportunity, because it once you become a professional in combat sports, there is no more amateurs. So I'm no longer locked in to the same limitations as being an amateur. Not just the icing on the cake of being a prize fighter and being able to receive your prize, but that said, I leaped on the opportunity. Looking back on it, I would have done the exact same thing. So there were a lot of political things that went into it. There were a lot of A-side, B-side games that went into the overall experience, which I'll detail a little later. But I got the fight. I was already training. I wasn't in training camp, but I got the fight. I was ecstatic. I ramped up my training. One big mistake I made is I didn't get the necessary sparring that I needed. I did get some sparring, but I didn't get the necessary sparring, which was a major fault or a major flaw on my part going into a sport that one punch can change not only the fight but your entire life. So I take full responsibility for that and have made the necessary adjustments since. But as I ramped up training, I started locking in on what I believe to be like a new level for me. And then we had about a few weeks before the actual fight date, and when the time came, I was on a plane. I was in Orlando, Florida, where the card was to be scheduled, and this is, I would say, where a lot of the chaos began. Even though there was some beforehand, but because my manager is a busy man and my OG, I completely understand 1,000% his schedule limitations and obligations. So he, on behalf of the promotional company, there was a liaison or someone who, in an essence, was acting as an ambassador for my manager on his behalf in the interim only. But that said, there was issues and complications with trying to get the actual state athletic commissions to license me here. So we had to jump through a few hoops as soon as I touched down to get licensed. So that was the first matter, was we have to get you licensed here in Florida because we couldn't get you licensed in your home state. So I got a job with the liaison, we'll say, and we were running from Orlando to Jacksonville to another Florida city, the different DMVs there, to try to get me a state ID. Me knowing beforehand and even articulating, I think I would need some form of proof of address, something certifying that I actually live in the state now and not am just here for the fight. But I guess that's what me getting the job in Florida was to suffice for. But still, on top of that, all I had was my state ID from PA and my social security card. And if you know anything about getting an ID, you need a birth certificate, and you need another form of identification that could certify you and identify you as a certifiable form of identification. And I didn't and don't have a passport currently, so that was in the way as well. So realizing we couldn't do that, we changed plans after our third DMV attempt. We tried to contact people from home to send a birth certificate, and we tried to get with some diagnostic companies to try to overnight a birth certificate, but we didn't have enough time in the time window they gave me to fly me in and actually fight. It was only a couple days. So this is as soon as we left the airport, not counting the liaison went to the wrong city to begin with to pick me up. So I was waiting at the airport that I was dropped off at for some time before all of this began. So we went and got we're on the diagnostic part where we're trying to overnight the birth certificate. That failed as well, excuse me. And then the liaison got a call from the matchmaker stating that he's been speaking with my local state athletic commission, and that they were able to work something out, is what we'll say, for him to sign off on me or authorize me to become a professional in my home state. So after that, we stopped on the diagnostic attempt and went straight to the hotel. At the hotel check-in, after struggling to find the hotel, when we found the hotel, and there's somewhat of a language barrier. His second language is English, but so we get to the hotel, and during the check-in process, the room wasn't completely or fully booked yet. They needed another card on file, and my patience had worn thin at this point. There was no more leniency in me, so I said, you guys have to figure this out. I'm not putting my card on file. This should have already been covered and taken care of. We get into a spat with a lady, the host lady, and then a group of his friends come in and they start speaking in their native language, which I don't speak Spanish. And then they disappear, and after about 5 minutes of them chatting in Spanish, they disappear. So I'm waiting for about 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes go by, and the host lady tells me that I'm loitering, and I'm saying I have a room here. I'm just waiting for the guy to come back. And another 15 minutes go by, and she lets me know I have to get off the premises. So I began to walk down, forgot I think it's Coastal Drive or something like that is the name of the street. But I began to walk down that street, and for a few miles to find somewhere I can plug my phone in, because my phone is about to die with my luggage. And I'm out for, I'd say, about 3 or 4 hours, essentially just walking to find a place. And then when I found a place, it was a tavern, and I plugged up at the tavern, and that was when I started to get calls about, we're looking for you, man, and everything's worked out. I'm here at the hotel. I'm in your room, and where are you at? And So the liaison is saying, we're looking for you, we're looking for you. Um, we got your per diem for you, your money that you'll need to eat, that you'll need to basically survive with until after the fight, until you get paid. At this point, I'm kind of I'm frustrated. I began kind of snapping on the liaison and letting them know, like, so far everything we've been doing have been running around like a chicken with our head cut off, and as soon as we're supposed to check in and get settled, you dip on me, and I'm miles down the road, and I'm on my feet, which I really shouldn't be, not before a fight, with all of my luggage with me. And so he basically starts screaming back, and then he starts like saying stuff in Spanish, and then he hangs up. And then the promoter calls, and the promoter says, basically, just everything will be okay. Just do your direct communication with me, and just go to the hotel and check in and relax. And I'll shoot you the itinerary on how everything's supposed to go and when it's supposed to go down, which I was supposed to have prior to the flight, but the liaison never got that to me either. So I get checked into the hotel. The liaison guy is not in the room anymore, which is good. I kick my feet up. That's like the best part of the trip, is actually getting checked into the hotel and then getting relaxed and thinking about the fight, thinking about the game plan, and thinking about the weigh-in for tomorrow. But the guy not being in the room also meant there was no per diem to receive. So I had to go basically spend my own money to go get food and deodorant and small things like that you can't travel with. So the next day is the weigh-in, and I get the itinerary. I go to the weigh-in. I'm well underweight at this point. It was the second time they moved up the weight class. The fight was signed and agreed at 115. They moved the weight about the let's say it was 2 weeks before the flight, and then it was 1 week. It was basically the week of the flight as well. So I was well underweight. I was 119. It was on the scale saying it was jumping between 119 and 120. But after we got to the weigh-in and we all got weighed in, they were saying that there's still more paperwork to do, and litigation isn't finished yet. I thought it was complete because we did all of those hours of running around from city to city, but there was still a local license for competing athletically that you have to get approved of, and you also have to pay for. And so I think it's called like the Florida Athletic License or something like that. So we had to file paperwork for that, file paperwork for the actual fight, and send that paperwork over to the Florida State Athletic Commission. And thankfully the commission, the not the commission, but the promoter paid for that. So up until this point, that was the first thing that the besides the flight and the actual room that the promoter paid for, just like at the snap of a finger. The blood work I paid for, the physical I paid for, eye test, all of that stuff I paid for, which I was reimbursed for. I was grateful for that. But it was, well, I wouldn't say I was reimbursed. It was like part of my per diem. But yeah, so after all of that paperwork was complete, now the fight is official, and the fight became official in my mind the day I got agreed to. But now the fight is actually official. The pro fighter license, the federal ID is what it's called for the fighters, is cleared. I got that from my home state, but it was like days before the fight. We got the Florida state like athlete license so that I could fight in Florida that the day before the fight, or technically I received that when I got back after the fight, but it was paid for and cleared the day before the fight. So and the contract was already signed, so everything that could be agreed upon paperwork wise was finally finished. And also the weigh-in was finally finished. So after that, there was no more stress to be anticipated in my mind. It was, all right, from this point forward, it's all what's happening in the ring. And I finally met my OG, my manager, face to face. We hung out, we had food. He met me, like, it was like in the, let's say, the second part of rehydration. It was the day of the weigh-in, I believe. It was either the day of the weigh-in or the day of the fight. We were eating and chilling and just convening and talking. We did an interview. We were obviously discussing deeply our game plan, and then we, mid-interview, the manager of Amanda Serrano is good friends with my manager, my OG, and they essentially just asked us out for lunch. And so I had lunch right before my pro debut with one of the queens, like one of the best boxers in female boxing history, in Puerto Rican boxing history, and in boxing history in general. Amanda Serrano, she gave me so much insight about the game, about being inexperienced and learning on the job, so much. And her manager gave us so much game on negotiations, on our worth, what we should be demanding and expecting in these contractual packages, if you will. And after that, we called it a night. We met back up fight day, the day of the fight. And here is where I felt all of the excitement would get channeled, would be where basically everything counts, everything matters. So we get to the venue, and they say we can't walk the venue. For an athlete, for an artist, to be able to walk the stage from an actor's perspective, You have to be able to walk this stage or walk this set, or else applying your blocking from rehearsal space or the movement that you rehearsed from the rehearsal space to the actual set will almost be alien. And it's the same can be said for a fighter who's training day in and day out in a gym, in their gym style ring versus the ring that you'll actually be competing in. So to say that the least, we didn't get a chance to walk the venue. We didn't know where to enter or exit from, per se. We didn't get to rehearse our walkout. We got in there. They said my manager couldn't even leave to smoke a cigarette. The A side, of course, they had dressing rooms with couches and TVs, and the B side, our side, had a big garage door we weren't allowed out of, and a concrete floor and some chairs. And they did provide us with a bucket of water. So it was pretty shady how they did the B side, but that was everybody's experience. I fought third, so we were supposed to get trunks from the promoter, well, from the liaison, and then from the promoter. The trunks never came, so I brought a backup, but they said to wear these backup because A, it doesn't have a belt line, B, it has strings on it, and C, it has pockets. Those are all disqualifying factors for professional competing trunks. So I tucked the strings in. I was told that when I walk out, you walk out with your hands basically to your side so they don't see you have pockets on them. It was helpful that they were also all black, and but we couldn't do anything about the belt line. We weren't about to hike the trunks up to our chests either. So then it was time to warm up and glove up, and we didn't have any gloves, so I began to warm up. They finally brought the gloves the second fight, but they brought me 2 left-hand gloves, so I had to return those gloves. Then they brought me the right gloves. They were puncher's gloves. They were Everlast. They were perfect fit. They were really, really broken into, which was surprising because I didn't know you can wear gloves that weren't new. So they were like really nice gloves to have, especially on top of, the hand wraps. We didn't have any mitts, so we had to go to another camp and use their mitts and ask their coach to mitt me. We got mitted up, warmed up in that. It was good. We began to again discuss the game plan. The second fight ends in stoppage. So we're about ready to get in our places to go for the walkout, even though there's still the post-fight dialogue from the announcers. So as we're getting ready to get in place for that, they come back and say we got to change those gloves. Do not cut them, or you won't get paid. So we have to pull out of these gloves delicately. They give us some brand new boxer's gloves, and there's a difference between boxer's gloves and a puncher's glove. So they took me out of the puncher's gloves I got comfortable with, I started to practice my defense with, and they put me in a boxer's glove that I didn't get a chance to warm up in or anything like that. The clock was literally ticking right before I needed to come out. I didn't get a chance to throw a punch in these gloves, but that's neither here nor there. That was just another thing that happened. So we get the gloves on, and they're like, okay, it's time to come out. I tell in my plan, me and my team are walking out together, and we were going to wait until the beat dropped and the song to come out. They immediately told Kano, my manager, to get out of the picture, to move away, and told me to come down. They just started waving me in, and that's when I entered. So I'm walking out, bewildered, confused. Worst timing to enter on the song. My team catches up with me, Kano and his bro, who's helping work the corner, and because we weren't able to walk the venue, we have no clue where to enter. So I'm asking the commission, where do I enter? They're ignoring me, getting even more frustrated at this point. The guy who was helping us work the corner, he's the founder, I believe, or owner of DB Tracksuits, and he knew how to get in, so he basically took the lead and showed me where to enter. There was no light, so it was dark. All we had was the sound of the music, darkness, and the guidance of bro. So we get in the ring. The guy comes out, spotlight hits him, perfect walkout, and it's showtime. So now I'm a pro. Now I'm in the ring. All of the litigation is out the window. There was a lot of craziness leading up into this point, but I'm trying to get my head settled, to relax. The key to boxing is fluidity, balance, distance, leverage, and timing. And you can't do those things rigid. You can't do those things tense. You have to be relaxed and settled. All I could think while I was coming out and while he was coming out was essentially, I have to knock this guy out. Leading up into this point, all people would say was, this is his hometown. He's being developed as a prospect. He's undefeated right now. The last guy who fought him even beat him decisively only got a draw. So you cannot box this guy. You have to go in there and knock him out. That said, the game plan was to box the guy, set up the knockout, and off the counter. But the frustration and angst I had, and the lack of ability to settle down, forced me to, as soon as the bell rang, essentially run after the guy, go right at him, throwing pretty wild shots. I did start with the jab, but throwing pretty wild shots. I made a lot of mistakes, but the biggest being the lack of ability to settle down and relax and clear my mind of all of the BS. So it didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but looking back on it as an overall experience, a wise man once said to me a long time ago, if you love something, love is unconditional, and there will be times and things about this thing that you love that you dislike and you dread, but the love is unconditional and should overwhelm it at all times. So when I look at the litigation, the headaches, the A-side, B-side games, the deception, the underhanded things that had to go on to make this happen, all of it just kind of flows to the wayside. So much more that I couldn't even put into this without it exceeding an hour, but the beauty that came out of it is I'm no longer an amateur athlete. I'm a professional athlete. I have a box rec now. It doesn't look the way I want it to look, but I have a box rec. I met great contenders. I fought on pay-per-view as a debut on Fight TV. I met the queen, Amanda Serrano, and had lunch with her and learned about the game behind the scenes and at the highest level. I met my OG. I got closer with members of the LDBC, of the Trilitary, of TWT. There's so much positive to take away from the experience that all I can say is I would do it over again in a heartbeat. And thank you. Thank you to everyone who supported, everyone who's supporting, who's encouraging me to continue, us to continue. My OG, Kano, my coach, KG. Thank everybody. It's much love, much respect. It's been nothing but back to the drawing board. It's been work, sparring, and all the negativity to take away from it is behind me, and all I have left is to show you guys the best of me. I was able to present the worst, which wasn't my intention, but the good side of it is it doesn't get any worse than what you guys saw. I can only show you guys the skills that I truly possess and the heart that I truly possess. This is, and always will be a Code Black affair. This was becoming a professional athlete. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. Support, check out, subscribe to any and everything LDBC. Check out, shop, support Usual Suspects at usualsuspect6.com and all of their individual channels on YouTube. Support my brother Kano Loco. Support my little brother 94 Sun God, 94 Films. Check out, like, subscribe, share, Combat Tool Bag, HFO Church, and Acting Right TV. And obviously everything Junior the Truth as well. I love you guys. Till next time, deuces.